the luxury to move
Yeah.
on when I'm burning out on something and still be productive.
I like it too in that sense, but it is hard. Like what I guess what stresses me out about like booking like 2 or 3 weeks in advance, like at a go or whatever with an artist is like, I mean, first of all, I don't think I could fill my calendar like that, but also like then you really like it's just hard to kind of keep a lot of clients simultaneously, and then it's just this big backlog of like, you know. You want people, I want the artists I'm working with to feel like we're making progress all the time, like all the like every week or whatever, and but I think things do get slower because of it. Like I think like if it was just like we're just doing this project for like 2 weeks, then things would just get done,
Yeah.
But my lifestyle is like a dad working from a home, like it's just it's not really feasible, to do that, but it seems badass, I guess.
It's a really, to be honest, it's rare that I do like, the 2-3 weeks at a time. It's those bands seem to be the anomalies, but you're right. I mean, even I was looking at my calendar the other day and saw that big kind of chunk of color just covering several weeks. Yeah. And I was kind of just weighing up in my head what I've got to do. And, it's like, well, I've got to deliver this mix and I've got to edit this before I finish this session because that client is coming in immediately after that. And I think I do prefer doing the smaller sessions and, juggling many things because you're right. Like it can, you've kind of got to focus on one thing at a time. You only have so much attention span and can only really do so much work. So, while I'm doing the longer stints, everything else has to be put on pause, which is doesn't make me.
It's kind of
great.
like taking a vacation is so stressful because it's like the amount of things I have to get done before I can actually take a vacation is just enormous.
Yeah.
And it's like the thought of like doing all that stuff so I can go on a vacation is is more stressful than I think a vacation would often relieve.
Yeah.
So it's like. That's like the woes of freelancing, I guess. It has
its ups and downs for sure, and that's definitely one of them. I relate to you, man. Like, it's I'm often, like I can't really remember the last vacation I took, but I know anytime I have kind of like hit the pause button for a weekend here or there to spend some time with my partner or something like that, I'm basically being dragged off the computer to get in the car and leave, or I'm trying to tie up whatever loose ends I can, and then I think leaving my iLock at home is a pretty strategic move as well. So I can't get up in the middle of the night on vacations and get some extra credit work in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Totally. Very difficult. I was gonna say on that note, like I'm in terms of like me like organizing my stuff. It's not I don't have a perfect system set up, but I was like drowning for a while, and when I started doing coaching with Carl Bonner, who's been a guest on the show, and we kind of set up based on his thing. He has it set up in Trello, and I set it up in Notion, where I just kind of have like a card for every project, and I kind of move it between different columns of like, okay, I need an invoice, or I need to, we're recording now, or it's mix prep, or I'm mixing it, or sending it to mastering, or waiting for, release information. So I have like all these like kind of columns that I'm kind of like moving the cards in between, and I could kind of keep notes in those cards of how many hours I worked on it, or what are we up to, or something like that. So that's like that's been working much better than what I had before, which was just kind of like, I like was doing like the getting things done approach of just like to do, doing, done, whatever. And like, just the list became so big that I completely overwhelmed me, and I just gave up, and then and then it's all in your brain, and then it's a shit show. So
100%, I relate.
Yeah. Gotta find a system and just stick with it, at least for the time being, I think is the, I don't know what I learned.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like just kind of refining the system over time as things need to be refined is important for sure. I use an interface, I think it's called ClickUp, and kind of a similar thing where I've just got each band has their own group, and I've got all of these custom kind of settings just to kind of keep track of where everything is and what I need to do. And I'll get alerts based on, whether those tasks are done or not and stuff like that. So it definitely helps.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I know Brian from the Six Figure Creative is using ClickUp.
Right.
Yeah, and he's now a sponsor of the show. Yeah, so it seems like a great program also. And I've been getting targeted ads from them
All right.
constantly
Sure.
on YouTube. But yeah, anyway, so actually I wanted to ask you, are so heavy artists, are they generally working on full-length records, or are they more into singles these days? Like, I know like the pop world is all singles, but like, bands are a bit different.
I've been watching that shift for the past 4 years or so, where it was kind of rare to do a single 5 years ago or so for me. Now it seems like things have shifted over to exclusively singles. That being said, I think you're right. The heavy community is a little bit different to the pop community, in that there's still some value for that audience in full lengths and EPs. Generally, I'm seeing people steer more towards singles, and I like that approach too. It's made me wonder, I mean, because the nature of heavy music production has often been pretty uniform to a release. So, obviously Metallica's The Black Album, just to use a crude example, like every song on that album sounds like it was recorded back to back, and the guitars are the same, the drums are the same.
Right. It has that ambience, that same kind of ambience.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas I mean, indie and pop and alternative records and stuff like that, kind of they can afford to create soundscapes to the song itself and kind of give each song a little bit more identity. Heavy music has traditionally been, I guess what people are going for is to have it sound as if it's recorded live, back to back to back to back. Each song recorded in sequence. And I've often wondered with people kind of leaning more towards singles now, like that's more and more difficult to make songs sound consistent production wise. So it kind of raises the issue. Do you kind of make every single its own thing, and do you try to better the tones you got last time, or do we try to kind of recreate what we did, and I kind of enjoy recording singles just because it gives me the opportunity as an engineer to improve upon what maybe I had done with the band last single, So it's kind of cool. It's shaking things up a bit in the heavy world with people kind of moving more towards singles. But yeah, I think 80% to 85% of the artists I work with are all singles, and occasionally people will come in, and I mean, I'm working on probably like maybe 4 or 5 albums and 2 or 3 EPs, and then the rest is just singles at the moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like working on singles also. I like especially starting with a single with an artist, because it gives me like a chance to kind of realize what they're about and figure out what our workflow is. And so by the time you do a second song, you know that like, okay, I want to do a second song.
Yep.
And it's going to be when committing to an album is a lot, especially with a new artist.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with that. I mean, I love pre-production, and it's something I really stress to a lot of bands. But the reality is that unless a band has a bit of label backing or a decent budget, that not a lot of pre-production is getting done. And in a way, you can definitely feel out a band, and like you said, do I want to do another single with this band? Are we a good fit? What can be improved upon that we did last time, and where can we go with things, like double down on the things that went right and try to improve the things that didn't quite go right. It's a cool little I think not only as a producer it's good, but obviously for the bands, they can reevaluate maybe how they promoted the song, or maybe the type of song they put out based on how much reach and what kind of response it got. And yeah, I think it's a cool little little way to reset and refresh and have another crack at it, so to speak.
Right. We're looking for that feedback. It's like if you make an entire record in a vacuum and nobody hears it, you don't know if any of the songs are good.
Exactly.
But if you release one song, you can kind of gauge if it's, like you said, like you get the reaction from the audience or lack of reaction from the audience, and take it from there. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the trial and error approach to making records.
Definitely.
Hey everyone, if you're anything like me, then you're probably pretty tired of having your clients never pay you on time. Collecting payments is not what we signed up for when it came to doing audio for a living. It's time to make a decision. Are you an audio engineer or are you a debt collector? And if you're tired of being a debt collector, then FilePass is for you. Their paywall feature allows you to send mixes to clients that cannot be downloaded until they pay off their remaining balance. As soon as your client pays, their download unlocks automatically. The FilePass paywall works for you 24/7 while you sleep, eat, and make amazing music. Now you can let FilePass be the bad guy so you can keep a happy, healthy relationship with your clients. Secret Sonics listeners, you can get 20% off your first year of FilePass by going to filepass.com/secretsonics. Again, that URL is filepass.com/secretsonics, and you can find that link in the show notes below. All right, back to the episode. Walk me through a little bit your approach to pre-production. Pre-production definitely sounds like a good idea if you're working with bands. What does that look like for you?
Generally, these days, more often than not, I'll get a rough demo. Obviously, home recording being pretty prevalent. I'm lucky enough to get something. I don't like to obsess over the demo too much. I don't want to kind of lock in anything, that I can't kind of work on later with a fresh perspective. So I'll get a general feel for the song. I'll get a general feel for the vibe the band's going for and the genre they're drawing from, and I'll kind of have a small back and forth over email, just about my initial gut reaction and what the band feels and see if our visions are aligning as to where they're drawing from, where they want to go, and what kind of result they want. And then from there, if the budget's big enough or if the band has some type of backing or something, we'll organize a couple of sessions depending on if it's a single. We can maybe just get away with one long day. And it also is pretty dependent on the genre, whether it's something that's going to need to be heavily designed in terms of the performances and stuff like that, how we'll approach it. I think with most bands, you could probably just set them up in the room and throw a few mics up and have them jam. But if it's something that's more from the gent world or the metalcore world, where things are going to be very painstakingly and carefully designed in terms of tones and performances and stuff, you might get some MIDI from the artist and kind of start with some sample drums and kind of just make a rough demo over the course of a day. And generally what I'm looking for is just anything that stands out to me that's going to get in the way of the production, arrangement wise or part wise, or if there's just anything that kind of, just hits me on a musicianship level, perhaps we could simplify this, or maybe there's a bit of room to get a bit more fancy in certain areas. So I'm just kind of trying to make sure initially that the songs they're bringing to me and the arrangements they've put together are going to lend themselves to what they want at the end. And once I'm pretty satisfied we've turned over all those stones, we'll pretty much use the demo to create the final product. So, obviously the demo guitars will be our scratch guitars for drums. And in some cases, we might even start recording guitars during the demo and then do drums last. So yeah, basically, as long as everything seems like it's in its place, it's just kind of a matter of demoing things out and hearing how they're going to go. And as soon as they feel right, we'll just get into it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Pre-production sounds awesome. And I guess I don't really do pre-production because I'm usually working with pop artists or whatever. But I guess the first session is always kind of like a pre-production because it's like the discovery of the track. Oh, what's the bridge? What are the chords? What's the layout? That's kind of how I start every production, is just like figuring out the lay of the land and it's not like a band in a room necessarily doing it, but it's a way to like discover what's cool, what's the what are we going to start with the arrangement, and then I guess with bands, like I guess the instrumentation is more predetermined.
Yeah.
But yeah. But getting the lay of the land is super important.
Exactly, yeah. You don't want to be, and I've been in this position quite a lot, as I'm sure you have too, where you're hearing the song unfold as you're